Hello and welcome to my comparison between the brand new Space Marine Codex that came out in August 2019 with the older Space Marine Codex that came out 2 years ago in 2017. In this video I will be comparing all of the units in the troops section for both of the books. As always, throughout this video, the new book will be on the right and the older book will be on the left. Let's have a look. I mean, obviously, if you've just got the new book, you know, and you've had the old book, you might be a bit peeved that your £30 book is, you know, that you got 2 years ago is out of date. This is definitely the precedent, in my opinion. I think they're going to try and do this, replace books as quick as possible. They do make a lot of money out of book, and it's quite a nice profit margin compared to sort of making models. But let's go to the troop choice here, which starts on page 148. So 148 there, and on the new codex you've got troops from, quite a lot of troops in the new codex by the way, from page 120. I like to start off with the new codex first. So here we go, we've got the Intercessor Squad. So it's kicking off with the Primaris first of all again. Their power points cost of a 5. And in the old codex, there are power points cost of a 5. Nothing's changed there, and if you look into the stat line, nothing has changed either. They're both exactly the same stat line. Intercessor Squad is 20 points per model, and now they're down to 17. So they've had a 3-point reduction for match play, which is quite considerable. You know, you get 10 of them, that's an extra 30 points. Weapon-wise, there are two main weapon changes in that there's a hand flamer and also a chainsword. They've changed the armory to the back of the book pretty much. You've now got a Intercessor Sergeant weapons section, so they can have a chainsword, power fist, power sword, or thunder hammer. So yeah, you can have your Intercessor you know, with a power fist or a thunder hammer. So I just thought I'd explain that. That actually makes sergeants pretty damn beefy with their 3 attacks, and then they've got that Angels of Death rule. They can be pumping out a fair few attacks now. It says regarding every model can be equipped with 1 auto bolt rifle instead of 1 bolt rifle. Also Stalker bolt rifle instead of 1 bolt rifle. So it's very specific in the way it describes it. Sergeant obviously equipped with all those, and the chainsword and hand flamer. Every 5 models you can have an auxiliary grenade launcher. The old codex does, the sergeant can take a power sword, but obviously that's negated in the new book where he can take loads of different things. Abilities, got the Angels of Death, so there's another few more rules there. Still got the combat squads and still got the auxiliary grenade launcher. Pretty good. It makes these intercessors very, very beefy, especially with this Angels of Death rule now. The weapon profiles, there has been a change. The auto bolt rifle is now Assault 3 and it was Assault 2. Bolt rifles are the same, but I think Stalker bolt rifles are now a damage of 2. So that's a pretty big chunk there. You're even getting 3 shots with the auto bolt rifle, or you're getting damage 2 with those Stalker bolt rifles. So it's a nice big buff there. But bolt rifles themselves have stayed exactly the same. Let's move on to the Legacy Space Marines, or the Tactical Squad in the new codex. They were a power points cost of a 5. They are now cheaper at power points cost of a 4. They used to cost 13 points a model, and they now cost 12. So they've only dropped by 1 point. So not as much as the Primaris, but still. Stat line wise, they are exactly the same stat line as they have been for many, many years now. You can have, you know, up to 10 of them, much like the Intercessors, of course. Weapon wise, exactly the same weapon wise. However, the melter bombs have this extra profile here. It says the Space Marine Sergeant may be equipped with melter bombs, which they missed out on the previous codex. Abilities, same kind of abilities. Bolt gun and bolt pistols and things have stayed exactly the same. They haven't messed with sort of like the core weapons. So that's the Tactical Squad, a little bit cheaper than before, still very flexible. If the unit has 10 models, you can have 1 special weapon and 1 heavy weapon. That's awesome. Means you can have that missile launcher or las cannon. Then it goes on to the Infiltrator Squad, which we didn't have in the older codex. In the older codex we, well, technically had 3 troop choices, which isn't much at all. I mean, you could probably argue that the Crusader Squad was a troop choice, but it was mainly for the chapter of Black Templars. So now in the new Codex we're getting 2 more troop choices, which is pretty good, I suppose. You get the Infiltrator Squad, which we saw in the Shadow Spear box set. They weren't present in the old Codex. They're a power points cost of a 5, and compared to Intercessors, they've got exactly the same stat lines, although you can also have like a Helix Adept, which has the same stat line, or an Infiltrator Sergeant, which has a better leadership and 1 more attack. They've got these weapons called the Marksman Bolt Carbines, which are rapid fire weapons, but if you get an attack with a 6, it automatically scores a hit and successfully wounds the target. So automatic wounds on 6s basically with those Marksman Bolt Carbines. The Helix Adept is pretty good. You can basically heal your infiltrators. They've got smoke grenades, Omni Scramblers and so on. The Intercessor Squad, they are the same power points cost and they have exactly the same stat line, but they're armed with Oculus bolt carbines. The number of bolt weapons now is just insane that Games Workshop have just pulled out of the fiction. Belisarius Call has just created all the new bolt weapons, but this Oculus bolt carbine is just like the Marksman one. It's exactly the same range, rapid fire, all the rest of it, but instead of the 6s, the target doesn't receive the benefit of cover. So it's just a bolt carbine or bolt gun that ignores cover. They've all got these paired combat blades, and they can carry this haywire mine. They've got the multi-spectrum array, the concealed positions and so on. I just think that Games Workshop, not to jump on board the this Codex comparison, but I just think Games Workshop recently have really tried to push sort of covert Space Marines, stealthy Space Marines, what with the Reavers, with the Infiltrators, now with the Incursors, with the Eliminators. They've focused heavily on making these sort of stealthy Space Marines in power armor. Oh, and the Dreadnought, that's a stealth one. Let's move on to actual scouts with very light armor. The save is obviously reflected in that. The Scout Squad is so cheap now. Before it was power points cost of a 6, and now they're running at a power points cost of a 4. They previously cost 11 points each, and they're still 11 points each, so they haven't had a points change, just a power points change. You can have 5 of them, you can have an additional 5 of them. They've got exactly the same weapon loadouts, combat knives, sniper rifles, things like that. The sniper rifles can target characters. The shotgun they haven't changed, missile launcher they haven't changed, still all good stuff. They haven't changed the war gear options. They've got exactly the same abilities, but obviously now they've got Angels of Death, which means that bolt gun equipped scout squads are just pretty awesome, well, even better. And then that's it for the new troops. I say that's it. I know it's a shortish video compared to the HQ one, but technically you do have 5 troop choices, and they're all solid troop choices, you know, compared to the 3 in the previous Codex. Personally, I'd either play it cheap and go for some scouts, or just bite the bullet and go for the intercessors, because they've just made them way better and survivable, and the fact that they've got 3 sort of different transports now is pretty good. But it would be nice to see the other transports open up to them, like, I don't know, maybe Land Raiders. I can dream of having a Land Raider with some Hellblasters in it one day. Anyway, that's that. They are the troops. We're missing from the old Codex the Crusader Squad, which were just for the Black Templars. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of the new Codex, the troop section, in particular now that we've got Infiltrators and Incursors? Do you think the troop section is getting a bit bloated now? I can assure you it's nothing as bloated as the Elite and Heavy Support section, which we'll be going on to in the next few videos. I'll be covering all the Elites next. Please do put your comments and thoughts down below. It'd be great to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.